Y ahora les quiero presentar a un autor, activista, poeta. Vamos a ser parte de su documental Luz en la Oscuridad. Es alguien a quien tengo también el honor de llamar un gran amigo, Jonathan McClellan. I'm really excited to introduce an author, activist, and poet. We're going to be part of his documentary, Light in the Darkness, and I have the honor to call him a friend, a dear friend, Jonathan McClellan. Jonathan, welcome, bienvenido.
Thank you. Well, let me just start off by saying how amazing this organization is. I was really just blown away by their mission, by their authenticity. They genuinely want to empower young adults to actually be the most that they can possibly be. And Carlos is an amazing leader who is doing so much behind the scenes. We really don't appreciate how much work goes into organizing something like this until we see the product. And honestly, if you take anything from this experience, it's that there are people out there who believe in you. And so I'll begin by telling you a little bit about myself as an intro. I am a storyteller by trade. I tell stories passionately, embarrassingly. And in fact, the first story I'm going to tell you, just to kind of break the ice, is about an experience which was the most embarrassing experience in my life. And why am I telling it in front of a whole bunch of strangers? Because after I do it, there's nowhere to go but up. But there was a time when I was in high school, this was over a decade ago, and my father had gotten just tired of parenting. He kind of just said, I've had enough. And I know there's a lot of parents out there who can relate, but please don't do what he did in this situation, what I'm about to tell you. He had all of my luggage packed in the trunk of his car. He pulled me out of class, took me to the parking lot, opened the trunk, showed me the stuff, and told me he was sending me to my mother. And then the fire alarm went off in the school, and the entire student body came out into the parking lot. That moment, I wanted to climb into the trunk of that car, but thank goodness I went to my mother and never saw any of those people again. Until now. Hi. Years later. I say that to say this. If I can actually stand here and tell you what was not the hardest thing I've ever experienced by far, but definitely by far the most embarrassing, if I can do that, being broadcasted to Mexico and to Arizona and here in Texas with people I don't know, then what else can I do? What else can we do when we face our fears, when we challenge ourselves to look beneath the surface of a traumatic experience and ask ourselves, what am I made of? Who am I? Why am I here? These types of questions are worth asking. And this next part I want to bring to your mind is just an invitation. I want to invite you to disarm, to drop the guard, to take off your armor. I know it's asking a lot, but if we're going to get through this, then I need you to be able to use not only your head, but also your heart, and that means feeling what you feel. It's so important. Just give yourself permission to feel whatever it is you feel, even though the story I'm about to tell you next is a very heartbreaking one. So this story is something that I wrote recently, and it was hard for me to write because I had to be vulnerable. I had to disarm. I had to take off my armor and use my head and my heart. And when I got through it, I realized something about a young woman named Jessica that wasn't apparent at first. and took me many years of reflecting on to realize, and it was that she is probably the bravest person I've ever met, which is why justly this piece is entitled Jessica's Bravery. And I'll begin. Some stories demand voicing. These are the situations which capture the thoughts, feelings, and spirit of a generation. And Jessica's story, unfortunately, is not nearly as rare as the bravery I witnessed from her. I met Jessica at the Dallas Fair Park train station when I used to take it to Lake June, and from there walk to the library and turn on Chakota Drive, then walk the short block to get to my mother's house in the year 2015. But this day, before I could board the train, I saw her. Or rather, I saw her condition first. Like so many before me, I'm sure that what I saw at the time was the same thing everyone saw. We saw her appearance, but not her. Just her appearance of leprosy. Before that moment, I had only read about leprosy in the Bible, so I can't be sure that that was an accurate diagnosis. But from her legs, arms, face, and perhaps her whole body, Jessica was covered in open sores, wandering around the station. This woman of an unknown age was homeless. I would have said that she was in her 20s, but living on the streets for long periods of time has a tendency of aging you prematurely. Jessica could very well have been only 15. There was a time, and just a few years earlier, I was homeless in New York. And I remembered that the subways at the time were one of the safest places to sleep. That summer day in Dallas, I was carrying a monthly Metro pass, a yellow card with a large black stripe at the bottom. It wasn't my only way to get home, and I figured that maybe I could help her to get to where she was going, or find a little refuge. So I offered her the card, and that started our conversation. I learned that as a child, Jessica had endured child trafficking. Consider that if there was anyone who understood the cost, it was her. And consider your heart, but face the truth. Society, our entire civilization, had failed this little girl. Quickly, my mind raced. What is Jessica's greatest need, and can I give it? I offered her my hand. But don't think to yourself, that was brave, and rob yourself of what has taken me 9 years to understand. It takes more bravery to accept an extended hand when all you know is betrayal than extending it. Then the train pulled into the station. She boarded the train, and I called a friend to pick me up. What did it cost Jessica to take my hand? Probably a lot. What did it cost me to extend mine? Nothing. I was taking a risk that I would never ask anyone else to take. But that day has taught me what true bravery is. Society had been rejecting her for a long time, and only the God in Jessica could open her heart to trust again. For most of us, it is hard to trust strangers on a good day. But if Jessica can be that brave, then maybe we can challenge ourselves to understand that it was not the Metro Pass that persuaded her, but the spirit in which it was given. And if we open our hearts, then they will open theirs. Perhaps we've grown accustomed to seeing homelessness so much that we become desensitized to it. But if we are silent, we are complicit. If we are complicit, we are consenting. And if we are consenting, then we must not continue to do so. Now I'm going to take us a little back. Somewhere in that story that I just read, I asked a question. Does anybody remember what that question was? I had asked myself, what was Jessica's greatest need, and can I give it? The answer to the question isn't as important as the fact that I asked it in the first place. If I hadn't have asked the question, the door never would have opened. I never would have reached Jessica and realized that the thing she needed more than anything else was a real, loving touch from another human being. Think about that. A question did all that. What else can questions do? Well, if you're sitting or standing wherever you are, there is not a single thing that you're looking at, using, or experiencing that was not brought out by someone else's question. Someone asked, how are we going to get a man on the moon? And did it. When they had to break through the atmosphere and the rocket was overheating, someone asked, what if we make it a dome shape at the top to disperse the wind? Someone asked how to transport goods over the sea and came up with a boat. All of this and more, because we do not yet know what we do not know. All my life, I've asked questions. And that's the reason I've survived. Not only survived, but thrived. Something about me you may not realize yet is that I have schizophrenia. And that's just another way of calling someone crazy, but I like to think of it as I have an open mind. You see, I was told that I couldn't differentiate between fact and fiction, or in other words, tell the difference between what's real and what's imaginary. So I asked, why not? Why can't I? What do I need to be able to live a good life just like everybody else? I was homeless, abused, emotionally, physically, and as much poverty as I experienced, the emotional poverty that I faced was the most damaging. Questions got me through all of it. How do I find help? Who do I talk to? What do I need? Why do I need this? We ask these questions in hope of finding answers, in hope of finding a better world for the future. Right now, at this point in your life, you probably have experienced a number of closed doors. Those questions that you haven't asked are the keys to opening those doors. When you are at the bottom of society, you have many closed doors, but the more you rise, you will find actually that the doors are more frequently open or readily open to the simple unlocking of a key, the question you never asked, never dared to ask. Dare it. Dream. Believe that you can. I did. Here's my question to you. Is the door that leads to world peace open or closed? Now, that's a difficult question to answer. It might be different for each of us. For myself, I would say it's open. We just need to ask the right questions. So the questions that I leave you with, the questions we should all ponder as we strive for a better world. How could there be world peace without the inclusion of the whole world? How could there be inclusion without forgiveness? How could there be forgiveness without healing? How could there be healing without empathy? How could there be empathy without pain? How could there be pain without wisdom? How could there be wisdom without love? And how could there be love without you? Thank you.
Jonathan, I imagine there will be questions. Well, I hope so. Yes, please come back. Thank you very much. This was really powerful. It was profound. And hopefully your encouragement for all of you out there to ask yourself questions has had an impact, and I hope that impact is immediate. So hopefully you have a lot of questions. Take advantage of having Jonathan, now our dear friend Jonathan, here with us. He's not easy to catch, trust me. I've been chasing him. So let's take the opportunity to ask him some questions, or I'm sure he's willing to share other stories as well. So yeah, please don't run away. You're the star for the next minutes.
Okay. Questions from the audience? Yes.
Okay. Do you want me to have a microphone, or is this good enough? Okay. So when you asked your questions, and I'm sure there were a lot before you had come to this place where you are now, what is it that, by asking the questions, what did you do next to change your situation, to have, I don't want to say take control because that's a little disillusionary, but to be more in charge of what you were doing, or better yet, directing your life onto the path you wanted and you dreamed about? What were the steps, or what did you do differently?
I think that's a good question. What she asked was, what did I do next, essentially? What did I do next in order to take my questions and realize or achieve an answer or an end goal? Am I getting you correctly? Okay. Well, I would say I failed and failed and kept failing all the time. The thing is that if you're there is no like magic wand. Like you remember like Glinda the Good Witch from The Wizard of Oz. Just no, she's not going to come down in a bubble and answer all your questions. You have to sometimes have a little bit of trial and error. You have to be willing to fall on your face. You have to be willing to be embarrassed and make mistakes, because that is the very fodder or soil that gives birth to a beautiful, beautiful blossom of realization and understanding. It's from our failures and setbacks and mistakes that we learn how to alter our course and direction and better align ourselves with destiny and where we want to go, how we see ourselves, and actually turning that into reality. And also, process is important. You know, whenever you're asking a question, you have to prepare to answer it. Who do I need to ask to find this information? Where do I need to be? position yourself, and then present. I call it the 3 Ps: preparation, positioning, and presentation is the 4th P, I guess, process. You know, just understanding that you have to do some work to get to your answer, and have the determination and the grit needed to do it. But don't be afraid to ask for help. Okay?
So I love that, Jonathan, and I'm going to try to turn the back to the camera. But where's the light? There you go. Because I want everybody to look at the back of your t-shirts, and this is really what Jonathan is referring to. And we did not plan this, okay? That's a very important answer, the one that he gave. Do we have any questions, other questions from the audience? If not, I have one ready for you. And oh, there's a question in the audience here.
What is your number 1 piece of advice for youth struggling at this time? Someone that feels doors are closed, someone that feels I don't have what it takes, I don't know where I'm going. What would be that one piece of advice that you can offer to them?
It would be this: one hardly finds a treasure without first hoping that it exists. You need hope. You need hope to dream. You need hope to question. You need hope to live. There are people going through the most unimaginable circumstances right now in the world. Things that would destroy anyone else, but somehow it was given to you, and you're living through it, and you're getting up every day, and somehow you're still able to put a smile on your face. You are more than you realize. Keep hoping.